Welcome to Stuck, Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Ref, and I want startup businesses to be wildly successful. I'm so excited today. We're talking with Dominick Wallace of Wallace Capital Funding, and he's going to talk about alternative sources of funding for startups. Thank you for coming, Dominick.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So startups often think they need to get in front of investors or go to an accelerator, get some seed money, or just get a loan. And sometimes that's hard to do, or they're not quite ready to get there yet. So let's talk about how ready do startups need to be? What do they need to do before they even start to ask for money?
Well, as a startup, what I would say is you must know how you're going to be making money and convey that to the other potential finance or financial institution, so they know that you have a way to pay them back, whatever way that is. So I would say that's the key to be proficient in what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to do that is just do more of it and continue to do it well, right?
So, if they've got a minimally viable product and some letters of interest, does that count, or do they have to actually be in profit before they can ask for money?
There's 5 ways typically to finance a business, okay? Let's just say you just facilitated a contract with the city of Columbia for $50,000, okay? And you're waiting just to get paid on that, but the city of St. Louis wants that goods and services, those same things from you. So you have 5 different choices on how to fund that, okay? You could use your own cash or the own cash flow of your business. More than likely, probably wouldn't be calling us, but the reason why I say that's one way to finance a business is because in economics, they teach us there's an opportunity cost associated with using those funds, right? So number 1, using your own finances. Number 2, which you talked about before, is debt finance. So obviously on the consumer side, if you have a car loan, that's debt finance, or term loan. Or if you have a credit card, that is revolving, or on the business side, that would be more of a line of credit. So that's number 2, some type of debt finance. And then one thing you alluded to, number 3, is finding investors, right? Asking for someone to get a rate of return, a future rate of return for a piece of the business today. Obviously when we buy stock in various companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever it is, that's what we're doing, right? We're doing that, and companies will do that. And then, of course, you probably explain, when you're offering shares of your company, make sure you're doing it appropriately, and you got credit investors, that kind of stuff, or using some kind of crowdfunding or whatever for that, right? So that's number 3. So number 4, this is how I got introduced to finance. So there's a type of financing called account receivable financing, or also known as factoring. And what you can do is that cash, or that IOU, that invoice from the city of Columbia, is an asset. It turns from an invoice to a receivable. And there's finance companies, we're one of them, that will advance against that invoice. One of the other things, it's kind of more of an off-balance sheet type of financing, but it's kind of in that realm too. Let's just say if you didn't have a deal with Columbia, or not waiting, but you did have this purchase order in contract with the city of St. Louis, and then on that level, there's also contract financing. Sometimes you can get like mobilization funds and that kind of stuff, where it's multiple purchase orders. It's not just one. There's a lot of different things that you need. Obviously, from a finance company, that's a lot more riskier because we have more to worry about. but there are some sources that will look at finance from that standpoint, and also just financing from what's on your balance sheet.
So sometimes there's collateral and sometimes there's future collateral.
Future collateral. So that's four. There's one more though.
And what's the fifth one?
It's business credit. And I think you've had someone talk a little bit about this before, but now how do you do that? You know, like there's, you know, you gotta build that profile. You know, we've had finance company, we finance companies and reported that credit history, and then over time, then they've been able to command terms, or a lot of times, if you have a contract, sometimes you can negotiate with the supplier to be like, hey, you know, I got this great opportunity with the city of St. Louis, and hey, this is how you're going to get paid back, and kind of negotiate that way. I would say if any financing I was going to do, I would do that, because there's no interest associated with that. You know, with account receivable financing, you have to you know, we utilize receivables. With equity, number three, you know, you're giving up a piece of your company. With number two, with debt, you know, you have a loan there. Then number one, you're using your own cash. So that, I would say, if you can do that, you know, that's the best way of that.
So the better your credit, the easier it is to get funding. And
Definitely.
Until your business has been around long enough to establish its own business credit with Dun & Bradstreet, like your score there, until you're there, your own personal credit is your credit. So you need to really make sure that your personal credit is really pristine. And there are ways to get it there, fix it if it needs to, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. We do it a lot of times with the contractors. When we're doing the account receivable financing, we will do what's called an assurance letter, which sometimes with their supplier, they're saying, hey, we have financial backing there. And if we can get terms with their supplier by doing it that way, it actually reduces our liability of financing. If they can get some of the goods and services that they need to manage their cash flow, than using our own cash. A lot of times we can do, that's one way, you know, have a backer that'll help you to start establish that credit with other organizations.
It's also important for startups to realize that when they're getting money from somebody else, no matter how it's happening, you've got a new team member, and you need to make sure that they understand that they're part of the team, and you understand that they are part of the team, and you need to not just go off willy-nilly. You need to check with your financial folks when you're going to be making any serious decisions. Well, thank you so much, Dominick Wallace from Wallace Capital Funding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is really interesting stuff, because money makes startups succeed, and startups need to be wildly successful. So I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff. One of the best things you can do is book a synergy call with me, and you'll be wildly successful. So join us again for Stuck, Time to Improv.